Hello. Around 1970, the country singer Lynn Anderson released the song and popularized it, I Beg Your Pardon, I Never Promised You a Rose Garden. It's a song that was sort of a love song, but at the same time, it was giving a profound message that life doesn't always go smoothly, that with beautiful and good things also comes some difficult and hard times. I think that's very true. My life has been relatively peaceful. I've had very little deep tragedies in my life, but I have had some hardships. I've had some difficult times, some ups and downs, times that I felt great and times that I didn't feel so good. It's not been all a rose garden. But this morning we were on a conference call with district ministers and our district superintendent, and the district superintendent called on one of our ministers to pray. And part of his prayer said something very profound. He quoted a little bit of the 23rd Psalm, Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And in his prayer, he said, Lord, we know that you walk with us through the valley of the shadow of death. We don't avoid the valley of the shadow of death. We go through it, and God is with us through the valley of the shadow of death. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. That experience of not only the mountaintops, not only the green pastures and still waters, but the experience of the valley of the shadow of death is very much part of the human experience, because God never promised that we would not have difficult times. God never promised the way will always be smooth. In fact, Jesus said, in the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. Be of good cheer, because I have overcome the world. That same one is the good shepherd who gives his life for us, who said, I will never leave you and I will never forsake you, that he will be with us through the valley of the shadow of death, even those negative experiences. Now, right now, we're in a time of great inconvenience, a lot of fear. Maybe we would say this is one of the valleys of the shadow of death. People have been through much worse. I cannot imagine experiencing the Civil War. I can't imagine what that would be like without anesthesia, the amount of carnage and death and displacement of people. That war alone cost more American lives than any of our wars all put together. And it was fought right on our own soil and divided families and states and almost divided our country into two different countries over the issue of slavery. I can't imagine going through World War I as what Europe went through, and the devastation, or even the bubonic plague that took about 70 million lives in Europe before they even understood the theory of germs. About 70 million lives, or about a third of Europe, was decimated during that terrible plague. I can't imagine going through the Great Depression in this country, but some of our grandparents did just that. Some of our parents even did just that. So we are in another one of those times during this COVID shutdown. It's been inconvenient. It's been dangerous. There's been a lot of lives lost. There's been a lot of fear. It's a fearful time. But I just wanted to remind you that God goes with us through these valleys of the shadow of death. God will bring us through. I don't know where it's all going to go. We're still under closed down, lockdown. We can't have our meetings, and that's a loss for me. I miss getting to see my friends. I miss getting to see the people of the church, taking communion to the sick, visiting in the hospital, visiting people in their homes, having face-to-face meetings. This is a time that we're having to find creative ways to communicate with each other. We're having to find ways of being together, even though we can't be together all the time in physical presence. This is a time that we can pray. This is a time that we can think about one another, call one another, try to get on Zoom calls with one another. These are good ways of dealing with it, but let me assure you, God goes with us through the valley of the shadow of death, and he will bring us out, because the good shepherd loves the sheep, gives his life for the sheep, and knows each one of the sheep by name. God bless you.